Before we get into the video, I know, you're wondering what the slide sounds like, right? Well, here's the thing. It sounds freaking awesome. You want to hear it right now? Yeah? All right. Well, check this out. Here's the thing about retro handhelds. They're all kind of the same. A few tweaks here and a new shell there, maybe a different shade of translucent atomic purple if we're lucky, and that's fine. We got kind of categories and then just variations within those. The design meta is basically locked in at this point. I don't need some cursed taco-shaped nightmare in my life just for the sake of innovation. But even I, a professional handheld dweeb, I crave a little chaos every now and then. And bless their little factory in Shenzhen, EmbernIQ has decided to stir the pot. This, dweebs and lady dweebs, is the RG Slide. Not a vertical, not a horizontal, not a flip. It's a slidey thing. That's right, we're in Slide Town, baby. Population, me. This thing slides up like a PSP Go, but thicker, chunkier, a whole lot more powerful, and unlike the old slidey boys, this one's got a 4x3 screen, full-size controls, and hey, it kind of looks like a weird little phone from a parallel timeline. That's fun. It's weird, it's unique, and I love that. Life is too short to be bored, so heck yeah, let's see what the Slide has to offer to spice up our lives, shall we? This is an early review unit sent by EmbernIQ. It's under embargo, which means that I can show you everything except for the game performance. I need to wait a week to show you that stuff. So call this a first impressions kind of video. But unless it explodes or transforms into a toaster overnight, I doubt my opinion's gonna shift much. And even though I can't show you the performance today, honestly, it uses a chip that we've seen before. And I'm gonna tell you right now that there's no surprises there. Speaking of the chip, this bad girl is rocking the Unisoc T820 chip, which is the same chip from a few other EmbernIQ doodads. Here we get 8 GB of LPDDR4X RAM. The screen is 4.7 inches, 4:3 ratio, 1280 by 960 resolution, and 120 Hz refresh rate. And we'll talk a lot more about this screen. Don't you worry. You weren't worried. Okay. We have 128 GB of UFS 2.2 internal storage, and we also get some sort of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0. It runs Android 13 for the system, and it has a big old 5,000 mAh battery. Right on front, we have a screen and front-facing speakers, thank goodness. And this is a function button that's sort of a Android home button, and this is a function button it's like an Android back button. Up top, we have inline bumpers and triggers. On the left, we have an SD card hole. On the right, we have volume up and down and a power button. Underneath, we have a headphone hole and a microphone hole and a USB-C hole for charging and video out. Around back, we have this stylish airflow vent hole design and more holes down here. Of course, the screen slides up to reveal those juicy insides. In here, we have a D-pad in the outer configuration and 2 sticks in the inner configuration, face buttons over here, and start and select down there. When I first saw the videos and images of this thing, I thought it looked weird. You know, with this huge border around the outside of the screen, it made it look kind of old and cheap, like a cheap cell phone from 15 years ago or something. But the second that I held it, that feeling vanished faster than my social life after I became a retro emulation YouTuber. This screen is huge and gorgeous, and the design is surprisingly practical. It's weird looking, but it's comfy, and it sort of reminds me of what EmbernIQ did with the RG405V. As in, it looks a little odd, but it's made for comfort first mostly. And this chonky little slider is way more comfy than you'd expect. Not quite RG557 levels of comfort, which, let's be real, might be one of the comfiest handhelds in the known universe, but considering what the RG Slide is, something that slides down like this to fit in your pocket and then opens up big to play big screen games, I think they did an amazing job. These curves at the side help it sit nicely in your palms. Now, it does feel a bit top heavy. The screen's hefty and there's a metal backplate under there for the slidey bits. But EmbernIQ did a neat trick here. When you're holding it, your fingers naturally land on the triggers, and that gives the screen a sort of shelf to rest on. And the weight distribution just works. One tiny gripe is that the bumpers don't feel perfectly natural to me. I kind of have to press them with the base of my freakishly long fingers. Otherwise, I have to bend them down too much and it's not as comfy. I got used to it fast. If you got normal sized hands with normal sized fingers, you'll probably be fine. They went with inline bumpers and triggers, which was the only correct choice here. If they stuck out like flared triggers, this thing would have lost its streamlined shape. But because they kept everything flush and stacked, it actually fits in your pocket. It's a bit on the heavy side, so don't wear this with track pants or whatever, but you can totally do the pocket thing with this. It's a lot more pocketable than something like the Retroid Flip 2, just because they made it without the flared triggers. Actually, speaking of the Flip, compared to that, it's about the same size when it's closed. Maybe a little wider and a little thinner, and it's a bit heavier, but it's in the same ballpark. And here's a few other quick side-by-sides for you. Honestly, I wasn't expecting great controls. Usually devices that need to prioritize thinness go with clicky thin style controls like a D-pad and buttons, like all the flippy doodads. But Anbernic obviously cared more about control feel than thinness. I'm positive that they could have made this device thinner, but they chose to go with deep recessed stick wells and full-size tall D-pad and buttons, and the result is that this feels like any other large Anbernic device. The D-pad is basically perfect, firm membrane feel to it with lots of travel, no issues with diagonals or pulling off special moves in fighting games. The buttons feel great too, and they're nice and quiet. Actually, all the controls are quiet. The bumpers and triggers are a tad clicky, but they're not super loud. Sort of a quiet click. The sticks are great. There's no cardinal snapping or anything like that. I have no issues with getting any kind of inputs I want from them. Zero complaints for any of the controls, really. I'd shake Anbernic's hand if they weren't too busy making 12 more handhelds to release next week. And we gotta talk about the screen. Oh man, it's like stupidly good. It's 4.7 inches, and that extra 0.7 inches over a 4-inch screen makes a huge difference. It's like going from a Game Boy and becoming a Game Man. Even 4x3 content looks bigger on here than on the RG557, which technically has a larger 5.5-inch screen. And lots of people prefer 4-inch screen doodads because the screen is bigger, but this thing makes those look like Happy Meal toys. If you actually want to see your games, this screen will make your eyeballs happy. It's 1280 by 960 resolution, which is amazing for retro games. You get such great scaling options with that resolution. For example, here is NES running at 4x integer scaling. It's almost full screen. And as you can see, Mega Man's life bar is perfectly scaled here. Almost every retro system is like this, by the way. And because the pixel density is so high, if you choose to run stuff full screen, you can barely tell it's not integer scaled. And if you use an interpolation shader, you can't tell. It's that crispy. Also, it's super bright. Here's a shot of me playing this outdoors, touching freaking grass for you in broad daylight. And it gets super dim. You can bring the brightness right down and you'll be able to play this in the darkness. That, combined with the quiet controls, means this might be the perfect nighttime gaming doodad if you like to play games in bed at night instead of sleeping while your wife sleeps because she's an adult and doesn't play video games in bed like a child. Even the darks are super dark. When I first turned this on, I was like, wait, is this OLED? I had to crank the brightness up and turn the lights down to just even tell it wasn't. It's not, but it's just about the best contrast on an LCD that I've seen on a retro handheld. One more thing about the screen, it's 120 Hz. That's good for a few things, like PC streaming. If you have a gaming PC, you can use Moonlight to stream your games at high refresh rates. And Android games, lots of those games can run unlocked at 120 Hz, and you get that here. And of course, you get black frame insertion, which everyone loves to talk about for retro games. It's supposed to reduce blur by flashing black frames between real ones, and you need a high refresh rate screen to do it. But honestly, I have no idea why people even care about BFI. I've never once seen it in action and thought, wow, that is so much better. But to me, it basically looks the same. I don't see any more smoothness or whatever. I'm not here to yuck your yum. If you like BFI, you get that here, so that's good for you. Oh, and one thing I will say about the BFI, when I first turned this on, I was getting some very strange behavior. The screen would flicker and also change brightness kind of thing. However, I realized it was just because of the version of RetroArch that Anbernic has on here. I installed the nightly build of RetroArch from their website and that worked fine. So, if you use BFI, get the new RetroArch. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, this slide. What is this slide like? And sliding this thing open is maybe the best part about the whole device. It's got the same appeal as flippy handhelds. We're opening them and shutting them. It feels fun and satisfying, and it's just kind of fun to play with, but this is even better. The mechanism has this soft, springy resistance, and then it just pops open with barely any force. Smooth as a buttered baby. This feels better than any flippy handheld that I've used. I have no idea how it works. It's obviously on rails and there's some sort of spring tension thing that crosses some sort of magical threshold and locks it in place. Whatever it is, it's perfect. And they even added open-close detection. You can slide the screen up and have the screen automatically turn on and automatically unlock or whatever, and you can choose what happens when it closes. I have zero idea of how long this is gonna last. We've seen many hinge devices that have stood the test of time and many that haven't. I don't know how the RG slide is going to do. It feels amazing to me and I'm very confident in the build quality. The entire screen mechanism is metal, I think, and the design is very simple. Fewer parts and fewer things to break. I can't picture how it would fail. I mean, it probably can fail, but I don't have a crystal ball. I just have an RG slide. And I've been sliding the living heck out of this thing all day and it hasn't fallen apart yet, so I'm feeling pretty good about it so far. It's just really, really fun to slide. Like too fun. It's basically my new fidget toy. I've been doing this all day. The sound is, pretty good. Front-facing speakers, which is nice. They're pretty loud. They're a little heavy on the treble and a little light on the bass, but honestly, they're really good. Above average. Better than what we usually get on retro doodads. They're better here than on the RG557 at least. Also, one little interesting thing I noticed is that this thing makes a good little portable media player. You know, you can pull up some YouTube video or something and close it, and you just have this like little 4x3 TV to watch stuff on. This kind of felt like the 90s kid TechDweeb's dream come true when I realized this. The system is pretty typical LITNXT stuff. I'm not going to go into detail here because it's the same here as it always is. You have a pretty basic build of Android 13 and you have the RG launcher, which is a game launcher and that launches your games. I tossed in the SD card from my RG557 and that was detected and it worked fine. You can toggle a high performance mode in the swipe down menu and change the fan profiles. And video out did work, but they said in the data sheet that it's 1080p. And I wasn't getting 1080p. I don't know if that's a software thing or whatever. They might have some updates to do for a few things like that. So I fully expect this to work by the time it ships because they said it will. The gaming performance is the one thing I'm not allowed to show you. I can't show you any performance benchmark or give you high-end systems with frame rate data and stuff like that. That's all under embargo for a week. However, I will say that the T820 chip has been tested to death by this point. I've made several videos on the RG556 and the 406V and the RG Cube. If you want to know about the performance, go watch maybe this video, and I'll link to this below if you want to see performance stuff with this chip. I am allowed to talk about basic game stuff, and honestly, anything that's 4x3 that you love will just sing to you on here. The screen is so big and bright and beautiful, and the controls are so good that even if you don't give a crap about the slide thing, if you just want something to game on, the screen and the controls alone make this an amazing device for anything 4x3. It's not ideal for 16:9 stuff like PSP, unfortunately, considering that this is shaped like a PSP Go. But you can totally play PSP games on here, it's fine. I was playing some PSP and I had a great time, but if you want mostly widescreen, then go for something like the RP5 or the RG557. This is made for 4x3 stuff, and it's probably the best 4x3 stuff device that I have right now. Even higher end stuff like Dreamcast and GameCube and PS2, heck, that stuff is probably the best stuff that you can play on here. It's a shame I can't show you today, but watch my 556 video and use your imagination and listen to my words. That stuff is really, really good. I honestly didn't expect to like this thing, let alone love it. I thought it looked weird, and I have zero nostalgia for sliding screens. I never had a PSP Go or the Sony phone thing. I mean, the sliding is fun. It's a great slide. It slides like a champ, but honestly, that's not the reason that I'm into this thing. It's a combination of the solid controls and just that screen. Ambernick, please, I'm begging you. Put this screen in more devices. You struck gold with this screen. I didn't realize how much I needed a big chunky 4x3 screen until I started playing games on this. The size and the sharpness and the way it sits up higher because of the slide thing, closer to your face. Your games are nice and big and front and center. It feels better, like dramatically better. Oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure this will go on sale in a week. Next Friday, June the 20th, if I'm not correctly mistaken. No word on price yet. I don't think there is yet. So whenever I learn the price, I'm going to put it in a pinned comment below. Anyways, that's it. That's my first look at the RG slide. Let me know what you think. Is this the future? Is it weird? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you hate me? If so, fair, but also screw you. And also thank you for watching. Bye-bye.